All right, welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. And it is still Dashan and Fatih in the studio. But right about now, we're moving on to something totally different. And we would be interviewing a poet today in the studio. Right here, we have Bashiru, Sunday, and Muneni in the studio with us. Good morning, Bashiru, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
He's one of Nigeria's foremost performance poets. His poetry is laced in love, memory, and the subtleties of the human condition. He has performed poetry at various platforms, including Kaduna Books and Arts Fest, Abuja Literary Fest, Lagos International Poetry Festival, and Poetry Africa International Festival in Durban, South Africa, and recently at Slamaroon International Festival in Cameroon. Well, Bash, he's here to share his journey with us and actually tell us what it means to be a poet. Good morning once again,
Good morning.
Bash, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, so first of all, right, for a lot of poets that we actually know, they actually have literary literacy or literary backgrounds, you know, in poetry. Is it similar to yours? And how did you come about poetry?
Basically, I didn't study literature at all. So it came from interest. Okay, when I was quite young, I think when I was in junior secondary school, I came across a collection of poems somewhere, I can't remember. And I started reading, and I just loved the cadence and the emotions I started feeling, you know. So I said, okay, fine, I think I like this thing. I didn't know what it was. And I started writing way back when I was in junior secondary. And yeah, it just came like that. I started writing, and there was an opportunity, I remember, in 1999. Then I was in Benue State. The state wanted, there was a contest, write a Christmas poem, a state contest. I put in a poem, and it was the best poem. Wow. So that was a point where I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. You know, so I kept on reading and writing and experimenting and researching and on and on. Then when the internet came upon us, early 2000, there was this site online where you could submit a poem and all of that. So I submitted one of my poems, and it was among the top 4 poems in the world, you know, then. So that was another, you know, point where I realized, okay, I think I can do this more. Then I went on, maybe what I tried to do to get some academic credence was getting a diploma from London School of Journalism online in poetry. That was about it. Every other thing has just been research, experimenting, read, you know, be around poets, be around the community of poets, and I just kept on growing, and here we are today.
Okay, so you've already said you're not from a literature background
no,
at all. So what inspires you? Are there emotions that makes you to write your poems, and how are you able to do they come in tracks, or just something that, you know, kind of you just love doing? Or if it is a track, do you put sounds on them to make the emotions that made you to maybe write the lines?
First, poetry is a spontaneous overflow of emotions. And when these emotions come, it could be anything. It could be pain, it could be love, it could be an issue, it could be death, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, anything. And when you get that, you know, burst of emotions, as a poet, what you're supposed to do is to use their emotions and capture them in the finest words on page first. So that's how it starts. You know, you feel something. Poets are very sensitive people. It's a gift, it's a nature. You feel something. You feel a strong emotion about an issue. Maybe there's a bomb blast, maybe there's, you know, chaos, society, hunger, so many issues. You feel it, and you want to just express it. You know, you don't know how to sing. Of course, I don't know how to sing. You don't know how to do anything else, but you just want to write it and capture it in words. So yeah, it starts from there. You try to capture it in words. Then again, it now graduates from just capturing in words to capturing in the best words possible. The best words that describe the best of that emotion. You have to find the best word, such that if you take away that word, it reduces the quality of that emotion in that line. So you get the best word, then after that you get the best arrangement of these words. At that point, you're now growing from just scribbling to actually being a poet per se. Then for the recorded ones, first, yeah, you've written them, and you want to, because we feel as poets, we've understood that, okay, music helps the message. So we sometimes lace our poetry with music just so that it could, it could be received easily, by the audience. So yeah, sometimes I get into the studio and I do that too, but it's up to the producers to, help also.
Okay, now you've actually spoken about how you develop your poem. Can you tell us, when you're done, writing and everything, is there any one that it passes through that, you give for proofreading?
Okay, yes, that would happen when you're trying to get your poems to a collection of poems now, because of course you're giving the public, and you don't want to put out a work that is not literally excellent in that sense. So you have to look for an editor. We call them editors in our own case. So yeah, there are a lot of editors.
Same thing.
Proofreaders, editors. So you give an editor to help you prune, cut excesses, and also help to guide. So yeah, there's always that need when you're about to get your work out. But most writers that do not publish do not essentially bother about editors or editing.
So let me ask this question, because it's like I've been wanting to ask. So starting when you chose to be a poet, aside from poet, I'm sure you're doing other things.
Yeah, like, I'm an architect.
Okay, so are there challenges that you faced when you started? And did you start with a manager or you managed yourself? And how was it like? Did you need money to carry out, to grow to the position where you are today?
Well, I've never had a manager. And the thing is, a lot of times you journey into uncertainty. You're convinced about your gift. You're convinced that this gift is appreciated and is being appreciated. You can't be convinced about where it will end because you can't see the total picture. So you sort of just experiment. You sort of just go into life with it. But you're sure of the gift. You're sure of your energy. You're sure of your conviction, your courage, and all of that. So you just work with it. And if your work is good, most times you get referrals. You get people wanting to,
collaborate with
get you to share on their platforms or wherever. So for me, it was more of the work just sort of walked its way, into life.
Okay, now poetry. For you to actually be a good poet, you need to enjoy reading books.
Yes.
As well. What kind of books do you like to read?
Which
ones have you read since this year started?
Whoa, I've read a lot of books this year. Like there's just tons and tons. I've read Nomad, collection of poems. I've read Augustus Podul, collection of poems. I've read I'm reading my own book. Yesterday, I finished reading Burying the Ghost of Dead Narratives by Sunes Natali. It's a fantastic poet. He just published his book, launched his book yesterday. I was there. Just so many books. Like sometimes I lose track of. But you need to, because if this is what you love, you must do the work of it. You must, must be in tune with what's happening. And reading helps you with that. Yeah.
Okay, so it talks about you being a performance poet as well.
Yes.
What's the difference between a performance poet and just a normal poet?
Okay, first, a performance poet is that poet that has decided to give more life to the lines by standing on a stage and presenting. You're almost like an actor.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with people, you're trying to get them to feel what you're feeling at that point, at that spot. And sometimes it takes you just 5 to 10 minutes to do that. So you must first be a very good poet, maybe a written poet, then you must now also be a master of the stage. You must know how to cadence, flow, rhythm, and all of that, eye contact, confidence, charisma, all of those things that come with, being a stage person. So yeah, so a performance poet moves the poem from page to stage.
But do you get people to act, those, poems?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. But whatever you are doing, you must make sure that the acting goes with it. It depends. Some clients, let me use the word clients.
It's just like writing to scripts.
Yeah. Some people might say, okay, we want you while performing one dancers to accompany your performance. So
to bring out the emotions of each line.
Let's say it's a story. The poem is a story, and they want it to be like interpreted by dance or by acting. Yeah, it happens a lot. We do that.
Okay, so I see that you've been to places. You've been to South Africa. You've been to Cameroon. And then recently, the festival that happened, Slumberoo. Slumberoo. Yeah. So, how was it like for you, to, without a manager, get to that position? Was there a collaboration with an international art that made you to?
Like I said, in this poetry thing, there's word of mouth, there's conversation, people talk, and I don't have a manager, I don't use a manager. People just talk, and oh yeah, there's this guy, have you seen his work, and like that. So it just happens. And if you're in an industry, you are in the industry. Conversations about the industry, are around you. So you hear things, you are called upon.
People refer.
That's how it happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you actually talked about, you reading your book.
My own poem.
your own poem.
Yeah, this is my book.
So this is actually by you. So it means you're published.
Yes, of course.
So, how has it been, or what comments have you actually gotten from people who have actually read your books? And, how has it been, the journey from, being just an ordinary poet to a published poet?
Yeah, it was slow. I wasn't published until 2017 or so. So yeah, it was really slow. But at some point, I started as a preach poet. I was writing, then I moved on to performing. Then my performance was so much that some publishing house came to me and like, please get us something. We want to publish you. So it was effortless. They took care of everything. They did the printing, the editing. I just gave them the works, did the promotion, and they took me on tour around the country. Oh. I read at University of Ibadan, read at OAU Fair, I can't even remember, a lot of places. Kaduna, around. So yeah, I'm looking at publishing my next book, hopefully next year.
Okay, so this is your first book.
Yeah, this is my first book.
What's the title?
It's titled "There's a Lunatic in Every Town."
Sounds fun.
Sounds like fun. I would actually love to read it too. With what's it? With
an autograph.
Autograph on it.
I'll give you this one.
Okay, so how do you usually come up with ideas? Some people would actually say most times I dream about them. Some would actually say I'm just in my room quiet and the idea comes up. How do you come up with your ideas?
The truth about ideas is when you spend, it's like concentration of effort. When you spend so much time on one thing, just like you sort of just hibernate, or you sort of give yourself, do a residency for yourself, a fellowship for yourself in your house or whatever space you are. You keep reading it, one thing and one thing and one thing. There's no way you read 20 poetry books within the space of 2 weeks that you will not come up with ideas, because you've sort of choked your whole brain with poetry. So coming up with poems or topics, or it becomes a bit natural. So you might be sleeping, like you said, and boom, the idea might pop up. You might be watching something, But the thing is, there must be that concentration. It must happen to get something really what is sought. You must concentrate.
Okay, so did you get any awards or nominations for your poetries, like that you've actually performed, or you have some videos that I can see that we just played on the screen? So have you won any awards in the past or nominations?
Yeah, first award I got, if I can remember, 2017, the Abuja Literary Society, awarded me for my continued work in growing poetry in Nigeria. That was one. Then I think 2017 again, I got Poet of the Year. I Am Nigeria. It's an international NGO. I was Poet of the Year. Then the most notable, 2020, Why Nigeria selected me as one of the top 10 most important performance poets in Nigeria. Yeah.
Okay, so who are your role models that maybe inspired you? Even though he said he is not the career that he has, he's an architect. So who are your role models that
Strangely, I don't have like role models, but I have poets that I respect. Yeah, but
dead and alive.
Yeah.
Dead and alive.
Give us one each.
Yeah, of course. Tade Padiola is a fantastic poet. I love him so much. He did a blog on my book. Yeah, I was excited. I mean, performance poets like If You're Paul, as you know, that's my guy. Sage Hassan.
You know, I was actually expecting him to say Shakespeare or something.
Nigerians. Nigerians, yeah. You know, Sage Hassan. In Abuja here, I like DK Chukwumerije. Yeah, for the ladies, women, I think Titi Lokwe does it for me. Wana Udobang, Donna K, Obi. You know, it's just a whole lot. And then there are some young poets that are really coming up. And
Still talking about, you know, poetry in Nigeria. What is your take on that? Do you think it's, you know, an industry that has potential that needs to be tapped?
It has potential that needs to be tapped, yes. Because, you know, poets are like prophets. They're very sensitive people. Yeah, we are. And we are we are okay. We are also historians. We capture. If you look at poetry, you see that there is always that capturing of the now in every collection of poems. Yeah. So if you read poems from 1970s, 80s, they talked about pre-colonialism, pre-independence, post-independence, and we are now talking about contemporary issues. So we try to document history. So we are very important people. And poetry in Nigeria is really growing. Trust me, it is. Like, back then, we used to have poetry slams. The prize monies were like 100,000. Now we're having prize monies of 1 million.
Wow.
Lakasera, am I supposed to say this? But Lakasera just sponsored a major poetry slam, you know, and it ended like last month. And the prize money was ₦1 million. You know, so it's growing. Lagos International Poetry Festival is doing a great job. If Paul Azino is the poetry director, he's doing a great job. The slam money is another ₦1 million. So, yeah, we are getting that traction. Then, you know, it's Nigeria that is the problem. You know, outside Nigeria, poetry is very, very much respected and deserving, you know. So we just hope Nigeria will pick up, but a lot of us are actually getting more.
Okay, so you talked about upcoming poets. Are you thinking of, you know, maybe coaching or, you know, maybe having people to train to be poets?
Yeah, I normally I have a quarterly poetry class. Okay. So I have one next weekend at Association of Nigerian Authors Writers Village in Pape. I have it quarterly.
Do you get sponsors?
No, I do it myself.
Okay.
I run it myself.
So, what advice will you give to the upcoming poets?
Just read. Read like you're going to go crazy. Just read, then write. Read, write, and, you know, stretch yourself.
I actually have a question I want to ask, but I don't remember the particular. I was actually going to ask you to tell us the difference between poetry and. I don't remember that particular word.
The difference, I don't know what she wants to say.
I might remember later. Not rap, not rap. You know, it's like, you know, where you use words as, is this spoken words? No, not spoken words.
Is spoken words. Performance poetry also. Yes.
Not spoken words. Okay. The name has actually escaped my mind, but you know, it's all good. It's all good.
I think I would like to ask Bash to maybe kind of give us a little performance, just in a minute.
I wanted to actually read.
Oh,
I like reading these days than performing.
Okay.
Please, so can I read?
Yeah, just read from maybe some lines.
Yeah, let me read from my collection. So this poem is, the setting is Abuja here. So it's titled Pedestrian Bridge. Okay, so dingy taxis squabble in a frenzy, just beneath to own the space, to claim the loot, and from the window his arm is hanging loose to the left, while a drop-off just ahead yawns for lack of use. Loud chants of trips to satellite towns near, pack criers in sweat, dirt, and grits. Enter with your change or lose a tooth. Article traders, merchants of cheap bras, second-hand clothes, semi-Chinatown, stolen gold, fake phones, bend down low and select your own. Beggar's clove, a father, mother, and son, clutch at tossed notes from indifferent passers-by. Heady scent of urine wafts in assailing fistdom, dare my nostrils near the suya crook. Four females taste and chatter quick. The bridge leg is collaged in mutilated church posters, pasted with very cheap starch. Pastor and his matriarch pose. A political portrait is winking at you too, winking naughty at you in layers of thick pop, oppressing one another in multiple postings, like my preacher is preachier than yours, my politician is more political than yours, my poster is more poster than yours, and our poster is as big as our grand plan, even for that lonely bystander hanging on the railing beats from noon till dusk, digging his nose in wanderlust of yesterday's wish or the next day's meal. My thoughts dangle between hope and despair, a pariah's vile attempt. I am stunned, I am God at this ill-positioned bridge and the many faces of this strange city.
Wow. No, that was...
That's really, there is a lunatic.
You said pedestrian bridge, right?
Bridge.
Yeah, it actually captures, a lot about,
Actually,
yeah.
It's actually funny how you can actually just take a look at this chair and, come up with a poem.
Something that will be around.
That's the power of
sense,
poetry,
yeah.
yeah.
I used to do poetry before.
Wow. Maybe next time we're going to ask you to
Come for my class.
Yeah, exactly.
I just didn't train myself or work on it so much. So
You should come for my class.
I think you should go for Bashir's class then.
all right, thank you so much, Bashiru
ladies.
Sunday
Thank you.
Abuneni, for joining us
Thank
on
you.
Daybreak Extra.
Thank
It
you
was
very
an
much.
absolute pleasure having you.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself too.
All right,
I
so
hope to see you again or have you again next time, maybe
will.
when
It will be
you
a
win more
pleasure.
awards.
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you.
All right, so with this,
Thank
we'll
you.
take a quick breather, and when we return, entertainment comes up.